Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to peel back the invisible layers of everyday life. And honestly, it's going to completely change how you view money, wealth, and the decisions you make every single day. You see, most of us hear the word economics and instantly think about the stock market, or billionaires, or complicated charts. But it's actually about the choices you and I make right now, today.
So let's start with a little thought experiment. Imagine for a second, what if petrol, gold, your groceries, and even your own time and energy were completely infinite? Think about it. If resources were infinite, the entire concept of economics wouldn't even exist. I mean, take a 500 rupee note. It actually only costs about 50 rupees to print. On its own, it is quite literally just a meaningless piece of paper. It only holds value because of a shared story we all believe in, a system we've had to create just to manage a world where things eventually run out.
Because human desires, they're infinite. You might want a massive beachfront house, a brand new Fortuner just like the guy next door, and $1 billion sitting in the bank. We kind of want it all, right? But the brutal reality of our planet is scarcity. Everything, and I mean everything, especially your time and energy, is strictly limited. And this constant tension between our unlimited wants and our limited resources, that is exactly where economics is born.
Now, since you can't have absolutely everything, you are forced to make choices. And this brings us to an absolutely crucial concept: opportunity cost. The real cost of any decision you make isn't just the literal cash you handed over. It's whatever you had to give up to get it, the hidden price tag. If you're watching this explainer right now, it means you're actively choosing not to scroll on Instagram, or hang out with a friend, or watch a movie.
And these hidden costs pop up everywhere in our daily lives. Think about choosing to spend 4 years preparing for the IAS exams. You aren't just paying for textbooks and coaching. You are paying with 4 years of lost salary from a regular job. Choosing comfort today means you're sacrificing your potential success tomorrow. Binge watching Netflix all weekend? You're paying for that with your focus and your energy. And if you go out and buy a 50 lakh luxury car on EMI just to look good, the real price isn't just that hefty monthly payment. It's the massive amount of future wealth you could have built if you had invested that money instead. Every single choice demands an invisible price tag, and you're paying it with your future.
All right, Section 1, Trade and Collaboration. So how do we survive and thrive with limited resources? We collaborate, we trade, and we do it using this brilliant concept called comparative advantage. Let's look at how this plays out. A farmer in Rajasthan specializes in wheat, while a farmer in Kerala specializes in spices. When they trade, they solve each other's scarcity. It's a complete win-win. And the exact same thing applies in the digital world. A YouTuber could try to do everything, researching, recording, editing, but they'll probably just burn out and grow super slowly. But if they focus on what they do best, recording, and hire a video editor to focus on editing, both of them get to specialize, they save time, and they grow so much faster. You don't have to be the best at everything, you just need to collaborate smartly. Moving on to Section 2, the power of incentives.
This right here is the engine of human collaboration, and it all boils down to this incredibly powerful quote from economist Thomas Sowell: "People respond to incentives, not intentions." It perfectly explains why the world works the way it does. You see, humans are ultimately driven by rewards, by data, by clear desires, not just good thoughts or pure emotions. If you tell someone you'll pay them 50 rupees to do a job, but then someone else comes along and offers 500 rupees for the exact same job, they're going to take the 500, not because they're bad or greedy people, but simply because the incentive is clear.
Because incentives are so undeniably powerful, we really have to train ourselves to use logic over emotion. A great example of this from the source material is in financial markets, specifically looking at an AI-powered platform called Bolt Trades. See, most people trade purely on emotion. They panic when they see a red candle, they get massive FOMO when they see a green one. But platforms like this work systematically through steps 1 to 4. They identify conditions, execute entries, set targets, and implement stop losses based purely on data. They completely remove the emotional panic. And that is what acting on logic and actual market incentives looks like.
But what happens when people, or even governments, completely ignore this logic? Back in 2008, the state of Maryland in the US really needs to raise some money, so they decided to put a heavy tax on their 8,000 resident millionaires. Now, their intention was totally fine. They just wanted to raise funds for the state. But the outcome? Over 2,000 of those millionaires simply packed their bags, moved their businesses, and left the state entirely.
The policy completely backfired because of misaligned incentives. The wealthy tend to act economically, not emotionally, and the government accidentally created a massive financial incentive for them to just leave. And honestly, this phenomenon happens everywhere.
If a school system only rewards test marks, the students aren't going to learn creativity, they're just going to memorize facts like robots. If social media algorithms reward flashy, exaggerated lifestyles, people are going to create totally fake lives just to get the views. The market doesn't care about your good intentions. It only responds to the incentive you create. And these incentives build the destiny of entire nations. Just look at India's economic timeline. Before 1991, during the license Raj, businesses needed government permission for almost everything. The primary incentive wasn't to build a great product, it was just to please the bureaucrats, and the result was almost zero growth for decades. But in 1991, everything changed. The economy opened up. The core incentive shifted overnight to innovating, competing, and growing. And because of that one simple shift in incentives, the GDP absolutely skyrocketed to 3.7 trillion in just 33 years. That is a 13x leap.
Which brings us to section 3, prices, wages, and value.
So we usually think of rising prices as the enemy, right? But actually, prices are hidden messages. They're signals telling us that demand is high and supply is low. But what happens when politicians step in and try to forcefully control those signals? The source material highlights 2 really fascinating historical examples. In New York, they tried capping rent to help low-income families. But the data showed that because the profit incentive was gone, landlords just stopped maintaining their buildings, and builders stopped building new ones. It led to a massive housing shortage. Same thing in Zimbabwe. They capped food prices artificially low, so farmers couldn't even cover their costs. They just stopped growing food, leading to completely empty supermarkets. The takeaway here? When you break the price signal, the whole system just breaks down.
And this exact same brutal mathematical honesty applies directly to your wage. If you produce 10 rupees of actual value for a company, but a mandated minimum wage requires them to pay you 15 rupees, the business is forced to make a purely mathematical decision. And very often they respond by replacing that role with AI, software, or automation. The market doesn't pay out of sympathy, it pays for the undeniable value you add.
Section 4, logic over emotion.
Because the market only responds to real value and data, this is exactly how the wealthy and ultra-high performers think. To them, a profit isn't just making money, it's the market literally shouting, yes, we want this, do more of it, so they double down. A loss? That's the market saying, stop doing this. Now, most normal people let their ego get in the way here. They'll drag out a failing business, a dead-end career, or a bad investment for years because their emotions just won't let them quit. But the wealthy know one absolute truth. Egos lie all the time, but data never does.
And because data never lies, you quickly realize that your own resources, your time, your energy, your attention are incredibly scarce and have to be fiercely protected. High performers absolutely refuse to waste their lives doing low-value tasks. If someone else can do it better or cheaper, they immediately delegate it. They focus all their limited energy on those 1 or 2 things that actually bring them immense returns. So once you stop looking at just the literal price tag of things, and you start analyzing the hidden opportunity costs, the deep incentives driving behavior around you, and those emotional traps, you finally stop being manipulated. You kind of start to see the matrix. So I'm going to leave you with this. Tomorrow, when you decide to spend an hour of your time, give a piece of your attention, or spend a bit of your money, what is the hidden cost you're truly paying? Master the answer to that question, and you'll master the economics of your own life. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you on the next one.